And we're live. Welcome to another scene in Darkness in Dublin, Mage Venue. This is a mini social scene taking place in the Hermetic Chantry, which is fortunately a relatively accessible place for the three characters involved here, Stephanos, Rupert, and Rory. Stephanos has been traveling back and forth because he's doing research and trying to familiarize himself with enough textbooks that he can teach his apprentice. To which he's basically like, why do I have an apprentice? But that's a separate issue. He probably would have asked to meet Rupert there at some point, and I'm figuring the two of them might just, while they're traveling through the library or halls, run across Rory, possibly. Or in one of the break rooms or something, because it's built like a dorm room. Sound feasible?
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to start us off then, Rory, with what Rory's doing in the Chantry. Sam, you okay? He may have stepped AFK or have disconnected. Okay. In the meantime, I guess we'll just start with our two characters. Stephanos is basically, he's got a small stack of books, basic introductory materials, talking about some of the spheres, a little bit of history. You know, nice basic stuff that you should probably read if you're going to be a hermetic, which he hasn't read yet. It's kind of that thing where he's just like looking at the books like, all right, how long will it take me to get through these? I also have those engineering manuals to go through. And I've got a sword to finish. Oh,
God. Well, I guess Rupert is using the time in the library to, say, do his own research. He has various legal cases he needs to look at relevant case law for.
Sam, are you back?
It's possibly chuckling after stumbling across some ancient case law on Katamen.
Yes, the thing you linked the other day. Yes.
Yeah.
Stephanos will kind of look over at you, and he vaguely knew you were there in the background, but hadn't addressed you yet. Just like, finding what you're looking for, or
catch up? So no, as it happens. Closes the book and puts it back on the shelf. Ah, dear. So no, I just pondering the current cases. There's so many at the moment; it's hard to keep track.
Which cases are you looking up case law or precedents or what?
Well, as you know, I was asked to prosecute Rory, and there's also preparing for as the Deedney affair. This invariably will be a big tribunal at some point.
I'm actually rather curious. What's the official stance on House Deedney then? I haven't gone through the official history texts. I've gotten their side of things from Yuki and some others, but
well, the conflict started with initial declarations of wizard's war for one wizard to another, which is perfectly legal. It later escalated to the Grand Tribunal itself in, I think it was the 1002 or thereabouts. They renounced the house, which was without precedent, but seems to be cast iron. They cited various reasons, but the vote was close, but it was carried.
Was the reasoning? You said there was reasoning given. What reasons did they have to cast out the house?
I mean, they were always a distant, mistrusted house, but so there'd been a scandal in the order. the Inquisitors wanted a full investigation of infernalism, how far it spread, and the Disney refused to cooperate. And they'd been conducting all their meetings not in Latin, which was a crime at the time because it prevents other Magi from attending effectively. Back in those days, all Hermetic business had to be conducted in Latin to give us a nice uniform language for the whole order from Russia to Ireland to work together.
I see.
And so not using Latin, you're inherently obfuscating all your business. And when people try to investigate journalism and you close the doors to them, that looked bad. I mean, they would do a human sacrifice, but that wasn't actually a crime. Burning people in Wickerman was distasteful, and everyone else disliked it, but it wasn't actually against the code.
Interesting.
So, but as far as I can see, it's all perfectly legal, and there were hundreds of votes cast.
Is there like some political body then that people joined? Are magisters effectively a senate, or?
Well, I mean, the order's changed over its history somewhat, but at the time, each magus had one vote, and each tribunal had a meeting every 7 years, I think, and then in a cycle there would be a grand tribunal with representatives of every tribunal, and Magi could vote by proxy. So that
which would make it simpler if they had proxy votes.
Everyone would have a token. You could give a sigil. You could give it to your friend or someone else, and they would vote on your behalf. So and everyone at the tribunal had a vote. It was quite revolutionary to think we had a democracy like that. Well, as far back as the 8th century. This is before the mortals had Magna Carta.
That's fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, these days I know we tend to have, appoint people to judge tribunals, but no, I think it was much fairer in the old days when we had one magus, one vote. There were issues. It wasn't a perfect system. Now, obviously, there was block voting. House Tremere was notorious for it. That's partly why the vote was carried, to be fair. So House Tremere had a custom whereby every magus would give their vote to the person who trained them, which encouraged their magi to train more people to give themselves more voting power, which obviously inflates their numbers over the generations, but also means they wield huge block votes.
And I am told politics have only become more complicated for the order since then.
Well, I suppose it's rather like geology. One layer builds upon another and adds its own layers and layers and layers of history. And
we do not currently practice the one mage, one vote system.
I don't believe it's ever been formally removed, but in some legal cases, I think that they'll appoint a panel of 3 elder magi to judge the case. But no one particularly objects. Perhaps they did. I mean, we still have our rights. I mean, it's still in the oath we swear to use our vote prudently.
Yes, the oath makes it very clear we have to uphold whatever judgment the tribunal makes, whether we agree with it or not.
Yeah. And any tribunal, at least historically, can be overturned by the vote of a bigger tribunal. So, in theory, it would be possible to unrenounce the D&D. You would simply need a bigger tribunal.
Bigger than the one they had at the time?
Yes.
Well, there are more mages now, I would assume.
Yes, I mean, the Mordor was confined to York back then, and the whole population of York wasn't that big. So, what would have been maybe several hundred votes, probably less than 1,000.
OOC, I think the way Evan's running it, there are probably barely 1,000 hermetics in the world. Because like the choristers have 800.
Yeah.
Or had. But we'll see.
Yeah, so at the time there has I think there was a record from 1220 of 798 members of the order on record. So less than 1,000.
It would still take a rather unified response if that were the case.
Yes. But frankly, it was all perfectly legal. Even if it wasn't legal, it would have been done by Wizards War, which is definitely legal.
I'm still not clear on that. So if something happened that would generally by most people be reviewed to be a atrocity, what is the order's stance on that? It was legal because it was being done by Wizards War?
Wizards War is a very particular element in the order. There are particularly narrow limitations on its use. It allows members to step outside the code to fight a battle between themselves. It was added because there were many magi in the order who didn't like each other. Some wanted to pursue vengeance for old grudges, and they would be denied that if both parties joined the order. Or probably they would not be denied that, and that would just cause conflict in the order. So conflict was limited. It's a bit like in the medieval times, they might agree to not fight on holy days. It's just you cannot stop conflict, or that is inevitable, but you can try to limit it to some boundaries. That's often what the laws of war are about, limiting human conflict to certain slightly more civilized boundaries.
The wholesale slaughter of children, though, is hardly civilized, so something must have gone wrong.
Indeed, and I dare say that innocents have died in every war in human history.
True, but in many cases these were collateral damage. The way it was explained to me was the defenses had been shattered, children were rounded up and simply incinerated.
Well, just as the Disney burning people in Wicker Man is not against the code, killing mundanes in war is not against the code.
These were not mundanes; these were apprentices.
But apprentices would be considered spoils of war. It would have been in their right to claim them
and to murder them.
Once you claim them, yes, that would be legal. I'm not saying it's a good law. I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I was going to say to say that's a bit of a loophole is an understatement.
But under a Wizard's War, the victor can claim the spoils from the loser, and indeed, if a Magus is renounced, hunting them down is profitable because all their possessions, their apprentice, their artifacts, they all become claimable. It was a way for the order to motivate people to actually hunt down those it renounced. Otherwise, it would renounce criminals and no one would do anything. Again, it's not a good law, and I hope that these days we live in more civilized times. But they were dealing with the morality of the Middle Ages and with human nature.
By the way, Sam, are you back or?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. They're having this discussion in probably a part of the Chantry library, which, it's the size of a college dormitory, so it's not that huge.
No.
Why exactly would Rory come back here at this point? Did someone leave him a message, just to be clear?
Would Rupert have done that? It's a bit of a stretch for my character to have done so because he's not met you yet. But
hard to justify. But I mean, I would have thought Roy would want to use the library if only to prepare for the case. I mean, he's defending.
I think he's assumed that the case's conclusion is a foregone conclusion. He just doesn't want to see these people before he dies.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. It would be a bit of a stretch, but perhaps Stefanos, since he's heard the name, might have like. I mean, if we loosely assume the Hermetics have their own bulletin board, but you wouldn't have checked it.
His dog might have.
That's actually possible. That's Evan's NPC, but it is possible.
Go with Rupert to invite him to a meeting if that's the best thing we can come up with. I can make it. I can make it work.
Okay.
So. So I don't really trying to find the character's voice at this point, but okay. Rory, good to see you again. Are you well?
For someone who's going to be executed, great.
Well, I mean, I hope you understand that I personally have no ill will towards you. We've scarcely had any contact.
No, of course, you're just following orders.
Well, I've been asked to fulfill a role that needs to be fulfilled.
You're just following orders. I got it.
Okay. And
you do get what he. Sorry, out of character. You do get what he's referring to.
Yes, I think everyone gets what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Rory is not subtle. That's about as subtle as he gets.
I did. I don't know if you've heard anything. They haven't yet informed me of the date of any trial. And given what else is going on in the city, I can imagine it may drift back.
Goody.
And I wanted to assure you that I did mean what I meant what I said at the time when we spoke about this. That if I have reason to believe that this trial is not a fair and proper trial, if they're after you for political reasons and trumped up charges, I do not say that is the case, but if I come to believe that's the case, I can assure you I will take a stand and bring a halt to the trial. And I think if the prosecutor quitting halfway through would do that.
Cool.
At the very least, long enough for them to find another. I don't know how that works.
Well, now, Stefan Savant and I have been talking about other matters lately. There is, a lot going on in the city. I'm sure you're familiar with some, if not all of it.
I don't believe
we a little yesterday, but as you can understand, I got other things in my mind, so I actually didn't know most of it.
Okay. I don't believe we've actually been introduced. Sorry. You are Rory, yes?
Yeah.
Stefanos. He'll offer a hand.
Rory takes it. He's a very he looks like he's 19 or 20. He's just kind of a tall, lanky, very handsome, red-headed fellow.
Stefanos has the only really noticeable thing about him is he's got his resonance is very. It's kind of like standing in front of a forge fire. It's just like very oppressive, almost not like evil oppressive, but like uncomfortable in some ways for some people.
Actually, I suppose I should. I don't usually describe it, but Rory actually has a very strong resonance.
Mm-hmm.
Like unusually strong. It's charged.
Charged like volatile, potent.
It's like you feel like something's about to happen now.
Also, you're a Nephilim. That's a thing.
That's one of the reasons he has a very strong resonance.
Yep. Yeah, he's seen that actually. He's going to kind of look at you and be like, I did not know that you were...
you wouldn't be able to tell he's a Nephilim.
Court, do you have something specifically blocking it on your aura? Because that does leave a specific trace on your aura, and he's met 2 or 3 Nephilim so far.
Oh, well, in that case, I will say go ahead.
Okay, I've got all perception up. So
okay, then his aura is also incredible. It flickers a lot. It is very, 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 very changeable. You haven't actually seen anything like it.
have you got any sights up?
Rory? No.
No. Okay.
He
I've
doesn't
just got
care.
Prime. I've just got Prime and Spirit. It's
Yeah.
pretty constant.
Oh, if you've got Spirit up, it's a really weird aura. It's very happy, actually.
Like constantly, or
Yeah,
tends towards that.
tend towards that most of the time, and even when it's at its most depressed or worst, it's actually happier than most people's.
That's fair. Okay.
But it flickers. There's all sorts of colors. There's like a rainbow of colors. It's constantly moving. Like strong feelings are constantly moving through him.
He'll notice that. He's like never seen anything like that before. He'll just kind of look and blink a few
Actually, you
times.
have technically.
Has he? Where?
Okay. Let me just. I'll message you privately. But yeah, in a minute.
Okay. I didn't think he'd seen
It wouldn't be as the other ones you've seen wouldn't be as strong. It's the combination of the two things. Nathan?
I don't think he's met any Fae, for the record. But yeah.
Obviously, if you haven't noticed, that's fine.
That's fair. In any case, he's kind of look and say, if you would not mind, if it is entirely appropriate, would you mind if I asked a few questions? I don't wish to be rude, but I only just joined the Order, like 2 weeks ago. And it appears I did it at a very hectic
Why
time.
did you join the Order?
I met Magister D'Onofrier.
Oh, yeah, she's pretty cool.
Let us put it this way, she was passively interested in my joining the Order, but the Inquisition came looking for individuals, and they found Rupert and I, and also Winrate in Agrabah Nights. And
I thought Winrate
this was several weeks ago.
Oh.
But essentially, we had reason to believe that a Hermetic's life was in danger at that point. I sent a message to D'Onofrier. I didn't specify enough that we ourselves were not in danger, and that she arrived moments afterwards with a fireball ready to burn. She was ready to lay down her life. And she was already mortally wounded from some other incident she had just solved.
Well, she's fine now, I'm sure.
Yes, she has since been healed, I believe. But she more or less passed out. But that was quite impressive.
Cool.
Rory, have you heard the news regarding the choruses of late?
Not really. Maybe, I don't know. Something the Archbishop left.
Yes, that's part of it. So, well, to give you the short version, the Templars, a disparate craft, rejoined the Celestial Chorus. They then instigated a purge of the non-Christian members of the chorus, the pagans, the Muslims, and the Jews. And they then, after doing that, they then declared they were leaving the traditions, and other members have they come forward to say, no, we need help. The traditions have recognised that the chorus hasn't left. The Templars are now calling themselves, what was it? The Canticle of Lamentation?
The Canticles of Lamentation, yes.
Thank you. And rather on the warpath.
And the tradition sent a message basically saying to the so-called Canticlers to turn over all the choristers they are holding prisoner, and if not, it will be considered an act of war against the 9 traditions.
Cool. I did warn about this like a few months ago.
Yes.
But, you know, people were more interested in prosecuting me for championing other issues.
Yes.
You know.
Well,
To be
and
Sorry,
some
go
of
ahead.
us be concerned about the seemingly overwhelming infernal activity in the city. I think was it Yuki has openly admitted her infernalism now.
You mean where she made a deal with Faust to allow Faust to give the true name to her firstborn child?
Yes.
And she's now pregnant, isn't she?
Yes.
Funny how that is when you make a deal with Faust.
And she then, by some reports I've heard, openly was happy to do a deal or at least give consent to Lucifer himself.
Oh, well.
In the Archbishop's own study, actually.
I'm guessing he's no longer on the super top level of choristers.
I am not sure what his official status with the so-called canticlers is. The last I had heard, he had gone into seclusion to try and recover his faith. The last I saw him, I meant to try and catch him before he left the city, but I was unable to. By the time I arrived, he was already gone. But he was going to do something to Yuki when she told him to his face, because she almost killed him. She tried to give him what I can only colloquially call, I guess, Lucifer's calling card, and it almost killed him. Just to touch it.
Yeah. Well, shocking. Is Siren okay, at least?
Siren is in critical health. The last I saw of him, the night that Faust came to Agrabah Nights to basically, I suppose, gloat over what he had done and tell us when the child would be born and everything else. The last we saw of Siren, when we returned to Agrabah Nights, Siren came in bleeding from the eyes, mouth, and nose and everything else, and looked straight at Yuki and said, "What have you done?" And almost died on the spot. If it hadn't been for the act of several others to heal him, spiritually and physically, he likely would have died. The Archbishop was tending to him, but then not 2 days later or so, the Archbishop himself had his faith shattered and left the city. I believe his declaration that he was going into seclusion stated he was hoping others would care for him. I do not have any art in healing myself, and I have been caring for someone else myself recently.
I will go take care of him. Where the fuck is he?
I assume he's at his library. I do not know.
Yeah.
I have been caring for someone else recently, so that's a separate issue. But I do not understand why so many people are. If I have only known about these things for less than not quite a month, but most of the people I've talked to explained that infernalism is a bad thing. Dealing with demons is a horrible thing. It always comes back to bite you in the ass, much like it would in the stories. And generally, that the traditions take it extremely seriously. And yet, some individuals.
Well, you know, the Order of Hermes had an entire house that got corrupted by Faust.
I did not know that, but that's
actually several houses. Well, so one was by Faust. I don't know who the others were by. But we've even had entire houses that have fallen to infernalism.
That I had gotten a general gist of, though not the specifics.
The Order of Hermes doesn't like to talk about it. It likes to keep things buried and hidden.
I can understand that to some extent.
Yeah.
What I do not understand, your misgivings with the Order aside, what I do not understand is why everyone else seems to be content to ignore this and simply go on their way dealing with other issues or dealing with the symptoms rather than deal with anyone who is actually done this?
Well, because they're friends with Yuki. There, by the way, other people have done similar things.
Indeed.
Not nearly at the same level.
I mean,
And yeah, I told Faust to fuck off, and he nearly killed me when I rejected making a deal with him. Even though it looked like the world was about to end if I wouldn't make a deal with him.
That is to your credit.
Yeah.
Well, it would be in Yuki's own best interest to come forwards and have a fair traditions trial rather than be caught by the Templars.
I don't think a lot of people have a high impression of traditions justice, high opinion of traditions justice.
Then why do they declare themselves to be part of the traditions?
Social club. It's something to talk about.
That's depressing, but
It's just like they declare themselves hardcore pagans or something. They don't really understand their own tradition of paganism.
Well, I mean, clearly they don't understand their own tradition if they're doing infernalism and tolerating it. I thought the Thanatos were quite strict on that kind of thing as well.
I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I've talked to a lot of people. People are flawed. Not for they're both good and bad, and
but if you could help colour in some of the details of exactly what Yuki and other infernalists would be doing, that wouldn't hurt your case.
But why would I rat on them?
Well,
I already told them I told the thing about Yuki already.
Well, because they're doing bad things.
I've already told you guys about Yuki. You can look into it any time.
Okay.
You found out about it because of me.
I understand that, but didn't you just say that others had done similar things? Not deals, but
there was a demon inhabiting a former hermetic, I believe, who died when we went to think. I think someone wanted to take back a sword. They were in fact offered a choice to have that guy resurrected or have a sword. Actually, I scratch that because I don't know if that part was
Yeah, and I'm not playing the character who would know that. Sorry. He did.
Yeah, my character he was there, but I'd have to rewatch the scene. So
yeah, it's all good.
But they took something back.
And there was a cost for it, essentially.
When is there not a cost for something?
Sometimes the costs are more obvious than in other cases. But essentially, that, just to clarify, you weren't saying that you know of any other infernalists, just that people have made similarly foolish deals.
Well, what is infernalism?
I believe that
Consorted with the infernal.
Sounds like a straight definition.
What does consorting mean?
Making a deal?
Making a deal, accepting a gift.
Making a deal, certainly. Engaging in non-hostile contact, it could be considered consorting. If you're hanging out at a bar, swapping war tales and drinking beer with a demon, that's also not really odd, is it?
I would ask why someone would be hanging out with a demon at a bar.
Right. That would be
that's not the context of the joke.
That would be consorting with the enemy in time of war.
I don't know. My world's a lot simpler than yours.
That may be something to be envied, but it's
your world. In what ways is it simpler?
There's good and bad. There's the right thing and the wrong thing.
That rarely holds up, though. There's far too much which can
take your shades of gray. I don't fucking care. I don't care to go into the weeds about it. I'm going to make the best decision I have with the, stuff I know. Also, he uses simple words off usually, so I might translate this into average person.
That's fine.
More, yeah. I try to make the best decision I can, choice I can with what I know at the time, and I don't second guess myself afterwards. It's infinite possibilities. As long as I do my best.
And do you think that's what Yuki was doing? Just her best at the time?
I'm not giving my opinion on that. What does it matter what I think about that?
The fact that we're asking means that I would assume means that on some level, one or both of us cares about what your opinion is, regardless of whether you understand why or not. And this is where manipulation 1 and subterfuge 0 has come to play, so brace yourselves.
Or to put it another way, there is a lot of, should we say, bad things happening in this city. I hope you'd agree with that.
Oh.
And, some of us think it would be good if things were to happen to stop that. And you are, at this moment, still the order. You are still a person of power. You clearly have information about what has happened and who's done what to who. You may still have a part to play in putting a stop to this. Now, there is a date of importance coming up. I don't know if you've heard about this. On the 10th day of the 9th month.
The big convergence and the, giant diabolical plans by the technocrats, which seems, by the way, absolutely retarded.
Well, that's what the Union are doing on that date.
Yeah, and then the demons are going to do something and blah, 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 and give some sort of Jesus name to Yuki's child and something in open hell. Yeah. I don't know.
So
that's roughly the gist of it.
Now, I don't think anyone has suggested that you are on the infernal side. I would hope that you're opposed to them.
I am. I'm very opposed to them.
So
I'm more opposed to them than I suspect many in the traditions are.
So hence why we're asking for your thoughts and opinions and what you know.
No. Let me say that again. I'm very opposed to them, and I'm much more opposed to them than I think many in the traditions, including this tradition, are.
What makes you say that?
He shrugs. A lot of things happen in this city all the time. Faust hangs out here personally.
So does Lucifer, apparently.
Yeah. And there was Major Nefandi here.
I had heard of that as well, though I am not too educated on it. There are also deities and now archangels visiting.
Oh, there's always deities. There's tons of local gods all over the place. I mean, I personally think Ireland's are the best, but I might be biased.
Yeah, I'm a devout Greek pagan, so each to their own.
Why are you not in Greece then?
Came here for work. I wasn't a mage then.
Why haven't you gone back?
Joined the order.
They have a presence in Greece, a very strong one. Arguably, it's one of the places the order started.
My connection to my gods is not based on where I live.
Okay.
He's gonna think for a second. He's just gonna try to think how he would express this.
And I'm sorry that Rory is deliberately making this awkward for everyone.
No, dude, this is totally fine.
He is young and resentful.
Okay.
This is exactly what he would do. It's guilty teenage, he's teenage.
As long as he doesn't we haven't hit the point where he starts marching around in fake goose step, so we're okay.
Yet.
We could still get there, Nathan.
Careful, you won't get OC told off if you start doing Hitler references.
It's all good.
Well, I'm under the impression that more or less the three of us are on the same side. That would be the side of not hell. Am I wrong in that assessment?
Well, I speak only for myself. I am certainly on the side of not hell. I kind of like this world.
Okay.
As do I, and as
all
do
its flaws and charms.
Right. Well, purely on the basis of ensuring the world survives the 10th day of the 9th month, could we agree to at least work together on making sure that happens?
Sure, I guess. How are you going to prosecute me, though, if that's the case?
Well, they've yet to give me a trial date for the case. They've yet to give me.
If we're working closely together, how can you be impartial?
I would argue that the survival of the world is more important, and if they deem, okay, he can't do this impartially, they'll go get another prosecutor.
In which case,
what if they say that he can continue as prosecutor, and I say something that he then uses against me later?
Well, we're not for the most part discussing matters related to what they're charging you with, which was he not throwing a helmet into a bomb or something like that, a power reactor?
And the Edney thing, I think, from what Yuki said.
Well, singing a rude song is not a crime.
It's not rude. But have you even heard the song?
Yeah, you sang it to me. Well, it's certainly offensive to some people, but that's beside the point. Singing a song is not a crime.
I read a copy of it. It's been a little while, but yes, I read it.
Yay.
But that's not what you're being charged with.
I thought that's what the betrayal of the oath is about.
I believe most of the charges relate to the affair at the power reactor.
But the last two don't.
Besides, I'm suggesting we work together to discuss stopping the infernal forces in this city, not about those matters. If you're not comfortable with that, that's unfortunate. That I'll understand.
No, I'm perfectly fine to do that.
You're quite right. There are certain matters related to the case which it's probably best we don't discuss. But I
have a big mouth.
I don't see that as a big impediment.
I'm happy to work to stop the world from being destroyed.
I don't think D'Onofrio wants to see you dead or anything like that.
No.
If there's a way to get out of this with your skin intact as well as the rest of the world's, I'm pretty sure she'd take it.
No, D'Onofrio is super cool. She's one of the coolest people ever. She is like a superhero.
Pretty much.
No, she really is. You have no idea because some of the stuff she's done.
Oh, she's done a few demonstrations in my presence. I have an idea that it goes deeper than that. She is what I don't remember the rank, but she's a magister. That's impressive enough.
She's a master. I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay, that seems fine.
I mean, we don't have to discuss any specifics, just the broad principle that we might work together on this. Do you know anything about Faust that would be useful for us to know?
Yeah.
I know one thing based on, and this was in my report already, so it's not privileged information, I suppose. We know his angelic name. It's not his true name, but it could be used to research that, apparently. Azadrel.
I know one of the things that irritates him, why he's angry.
Hmm.
He misses God's light. His existence is pain. Without it, to have known grace and lost it. The hell?
Well,
sorry, 1 second, guys.
It's suddenly music.
While that does happen around Rory, this is not intentional.
That's fair.
It actually is one of the things that happens around him. Hello, echoes. Okay,
there we go. There we go.
Well,
Rory looks about for the sudden source of the music.
What you were just saying, that's almost a direct quote from the play. If you ever seen the Tragedy of Dr. Faustus by Marlowe,
Not really into books.
it's a play. You can get it on DVD sometime.
It's the origin of the phrase Faustian bargain, I believe.
Yes.
Is there a video game?
Oh, I'm sure it's come up in a few, but I mean,
it's been referenced in many, probably. You can read the synopsis on Wikipedia. But anyway, in that,
Okay.
there is the infernalist Dr. Faustus who consults a demon, Mephistopheles, and that's the thing that Mephistopheles says. He is in hell. Here is hell because he is without God's grace. To have known the face of God and have lost it.
Yeah. He's also jealous of Lucifer.
He's jealous of Lucifer because,
I don't remember why.
well, because
My memory sometimes isn't so good. Well, no, that's not true. It's pretty good. But just like sometimes it takes me a minute to remember things. I don't misremember them. I just don't. It's like,
making the connection is more difficult.
my mind moves very quickly.
That's fair.
Okay, so
Rory, I have a question for you, and I don't wish to offend you, but I'm curious as to whether you think this would happen or not. You know that I would say chorus, but the Canticlers, basically the Inquisition, are trying to kill Yuki, yes? They've been very public about it, or at least capture her. I don't know if they plan on killing her, but in their custody, one's the same as the other.
I didn't know that, but that doesn't really shock me.
They've been going about searching for her.
The Union's looking for me to kill me, so I guess that makes sense.
And with the upcoming, I don't know how this is going to pan out between the Canticlers and the rest of the traditions. I won't pretend to guess what's going to happen, but
let me make a guess. There'll be a big hullabaloo, but it'll all work out in the end. Except a lot of people will die. And things will continue on as they did before, except with another story.
I mean, that would be better than the world ending, but that's not what I was getting
The world is always ending. There is always an apocalypse right around the corner. Demons are always trying to corrupt things and bring about the end of hell or whatever it is they want. And, Cthulhu things from the outside and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if someone put it more eloquently than I did, but I can't remember how they put it. But things from outside are trying to, get their way in and remake the things and break the light and whatever. And there's things that try to get into our world. And there's always an Argelian battleship or whatever the hell it is, or a plague or something.
I've seen the movie. I've seen that movie, but he's just going to stop for a second. He's going to like hold up a hand towards Rory. He's going to look at directly at Rupert and be like, "Cthulhu's not real, is he? Please tell me he's not real."
He is.
Oh, god damn it.
Well, things like him are real. He's not based on nothing. Also, just by imagining something, it becomes real.
That's a little more scary.
Isn't it? But the thing is, despite all that, the world continues. And has continued for a long time. And likely will continue another longer time. And people get so stressed about all these things. And think of it like we're in a movie. Okay? If you want to use wall, you know it's going to end well. But they'll leave room open for a sequel.
If you use that analogy, though, I don't think it's quite accurate. Because imagine what would happen in the movie if the supporting cast or the main characters stopped progressing the storyline and simply took a step back and did nothing. The plot would not advance, but if they kept to their own, I suppose, their own rules, then the villain's plot would continue and would be successful. And it could even kill the main characters, depending on the movie.
It could, if there wasn't a Deus Ex Machina.
But even a Deus Ex Machina requires someone to use it.
Does it?
Usually.
I don't know. Maybe there's some sort of Xanatos Gambit or something.
Hold on. So, Rory, you seem to be under the assumption that stories always work out at the end.
Yes, they do.
You haven't seen a lot of Shakespeare, have you?
Or other Greek tragedies.
You know, some people like downer endings. Writers will give them what they want.
Or perhaps you're more familiar with the Arthurian legend.
Do you think that House
the Arthurian legend very well? He becomes very, like, he just draws himself up straight. He's quite tall, by the way. He's well over 6 feet. He's like, I know the Arthurian legend very well.
Everyone dies.
No, they don't. Arthur, mortally wounded, is taken back by his half-sister, the three ladies, two of which are his half-sisters, including him, my mother, nothing. And he is taken back to Avalon, where he will return.
Taking notes.
At England's, he will return to us in England's greatest hour of need.
Which clearly didn't happen, since he didn't return when the Normans conquered England.
How do you know that was their greatest hour of need? That didn't seem to be such a big deal.
It was a pretty big deal for the Saxons at the time.
Yeah, and the Saxons had killed the actual, killed and conquered the actual Britons, where the Arthurian legend actually comes from. He actually knows something about Arthur.
But if you believe but if I understand you, you're saying that you believe.
You believe saying a bunch of stupid, abracadabra makes something real. Why is it so hard to believe that stories have a happy ending?
I actually don't.
Just because you haven't seen the ending of it.
I actually don't believe that. That goes against our teachings.
Or whatever.
The Goetian formula.
A lot of things that on the face of it is ridiculous. I don't think any of it is ridiculous.
I didn't say it was. Could I finish?
Sure, if you want.
You believe that all stories in the real world will eventually have a happy ending, despite some people writing their own fictional stories, like a Greek tragedy or a Shakespearean story, where it ends poorly, yes?
No. I don't know. I can't think of a way of articulating. He would say articulating. I can't say a way of saying exactly what I want to say.
Do you think... Okay, let me try this a different way. He's having trouble articulating this also. He does have charisma. Like, he's got like natural leadership merit and shit. He does have the ability to talk persuasively. He's just not
persuasively. It depends on what kind of persuasively. Rory is actually charisma 5. Persuasively usually deals with more with manipulation, actually.
Which he doesn't have. He has manipulation 1, subterfuge 0. So he's like, it's less he's trying to convince you and more he's trying to explain his own point of view. It's kind of like, instead of irresistible force and movable object, this is 2 irresistible forces.
Yes, that's such a very good way of putting this.
Yours is way stronger than his, I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
But he's just going to say, So, do you believe that that a story can be about an individual as well as about a larger group? That
Sure.
one person's life is a story.
I believe there's infinite stories.
All right. So you understand then that many of those individual stories end very sadly in this world. I could point just to the people who died in House Diedney, for example. If we assume that they were innocent,
That story is over.
it may not be over for the group, but for the people who died there, it is. They are dead. They're not coming back.
How do you know that ending was sad just because they died?
I don't think there's many ways. Well, there are many ways to interpret many stories, but I don't think it's. I can't really call a bunch of.
What about if with their final breath they smuggled away a survivor?
That's good for that one survivor.
It's good for them too if they believed in the cause long enough.
We're talking about children being burned.
Yes, I know. Burned
Do you
by
really think? Do you really?
order of Hermes.
Yes, and we're not talking about
their
that.
bed, having their throats slit.
We're talking about. Do you think that is a happy ending for that child?
I don't know what happened to that child. I don't know that death is the ending.
We could argue about that
We know
all day.
ghosts are real. We know angels are real. We know demons are real. We know gods are real. We know all sorts of things are real. How much hubris do you have to know to think that that is the end of the story?
How much hubris do you have to assume that even if everything we see ends horribly on some level, that it'll all work out simply because you know or believe it will work out against all evidence? I respect your faith. You have faith in that seemingly as much as, he points to Rupert, he does in God. But that does not mean that it will happen without your influence. And it does not mean that all stories will end well without...
I do whatever I can for it. But I think things can be more real than reality. I think stories can be more real than reality.
And for some people, perhaps that's true. But what I'm trying to say is you cannot simply step back and assume that the story...
What is justice?
We're really bouncing from topic to topic here.
No. This is very relevant. What is justice?
Depending on who you talk to, it could be anything from retribution for things done wrong to righting of the scales. It can get very abstract.
Right.
And we're not talking about laws. You're talking about justice. Laws are a very different thing.
I agree. As we see here, laws and justice are two very different things.
Laws are an attempt to make a larger system of justice, one that can be applied to everyone, which is in itself a form of justice.
You can take out the of justice part.
Do you think we'd have more justice in the world with no law?
I don't know.
I don't believe we would, personally. There would be...
I think justice changes for everyone. Justice is a story we tell each other.
Laws are imperfect.
Everyone has a different story of what justice is.
Laws are an imperfect attempt to bring justice to the masses.
You can't touch justice. You can't eat justice. You can't wear justice. You can't shelter under it.
It is still something that many strive for, though, and laws are one way that they attempt to do so.
It is a story. It is a story. It is an ending that people strive for. It's a story we tell each other.
It's an abstract concept, yes, much as honor or...
Exactly.
Or self-sacrifice or anything else.
Self-sacrifice. They're stories to make the world a more... I don't really care what other people believe. I know it's right.
That which is not real, yet which is vital.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to get at is this. Rory, I'm going to be very direct with you. And he's just going to look at you and say, I think I know where Yuki is.
Okay.
And I could, if I If I wish to, I could put that in a report and put it on Denofrier's desk. I could go to her myself when she comes back, or anything else. She might be back by now. I haven't checked her office. She was in Paris last I checked. But I could tell her. I could go and release the information on a bulletin board or something else. And then the Canticlers or someone else would go after her.
Right.
But there are other people who live there. I don't want to endanger those other people because I don't know that they are infernalists. I don't know what their reasoning is. From everything I've been told, they protect her out of friendship, but that could get them killed as well as her. It will not stop what is going to happen. And eventually, whether I say anything or not, they will be found. Whether it's while they're there or while they step outside to go get groceries or something.
And if found that you knew something about it and did nothing about it,
then I would also face justice, yes.
And if you knew something about it and did nothing about it, and she later did something that endangered other people, it would be on your conscience.
This is why I'm having this discussion right now. Would you like to let me finish?
No, but I'll let you anyways. He smiles. You guys are all so serious.
If things continue as they are, if she stays where she is and does not turn herself in, then whether I do anything or not, they will come for her. They will come for whoever is with her. And many people may die. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it is very likely based on what I know.
That is very likely, I agree.
I do not want to see a bloodbath. Do you think you could convince her if you were to find her? Do you believe you could convince her to turn herself in?
Just to clarify, that's to the traditions as a whole,
yes,
or her
not to the order.
Not to the order, and not to the Templars.
I don't think that she would fare well in either case, to be quite honest. But to the traditions, that at least their attention has been drawn here. There is enough attention directed at her that if she were to turn herself in, that would be her best chance for survival and the best chance for those around her. She swore an oath to protect me, Rory, to her and my gods in front of me. I don't want to see her dead.
Why are you asking me?
You seem to know her. I don't. I've known her for a matter of weeks. I haven't seen her. She might like
you more than she likes me.
Swearing an oath to protect someone does not necessarily mean you like them. I don't believe she dislikes me, but I don't believe I could convince her to do something.
I don't think most people are going to convince Yuki to do anything. But then I don't believe most people are going to convince anyone to do anything.
Do you think you could try in the interest of saving lives?
In the interest of saving lives, I could probably try.
Then I would greatly appreciate that.
Do you know who's with her?
I'd prefer not to say, but...
If I were... Go ahead. Sure, I'll let you finish out a character.
Just all I will say is bear in mind which tradition she is a part of.
Most of the other Euthanatos, I think, have died.
There are still some in the city.
I'm just going to go back to that post you made in chat, just to see if Rory would actually even know any of them.
Oh, one of the posts was not on the rumor board. It was on the forums, but it was still assumed to be available to everyone. It's saying which people are in charge of which traditions in the city. I think it lists Samira as being in charge of the Euthanatoi.
That's what I was actually going to guess.
Yeah.
He's like, Samira, Lottie, Eliza Roth, Or I can't forget her last name at least.
Lottie is, I believe, from what Yuki said, is in House Diedny, wherever that is.
She's also a member of the Cult of Ecstasy.
Yes. But
you realise it's not helping your case if the modern House Diedny are openly associated with a known infernalist.
To be fair, you are correct, but to be fair, from everything we have seen, there are quite a few people associating, and most of them for the same reason.
But people will make mileage out of that.
Yes.
People are going to make mileage out of anything.
That's not anything, though, is it?
I don't know, honestly.
To keep the focus on the matter at hand, though.
I could probably go and try to speak to them, yes.
All right. That's all I'm asking. If she turns herself in, then
what guarantees can you make her?
None. She made a deal with a demon. The only thing I can say is she has a better chance with the traditions as a whole than she does staying in hiding or turning herself into the Chantry or turning herself into the Canticlers.
You're a lawyer, aren't you, Rupert?
Yes.
Do you do defense work ever?
Yeah. It's my preferred type of work.
Well, would you be willing to defend her?
He pauses to think for a moment.
Be the ultimate devil's advocate position.
You'll be the devil's advocate. Being stupid and prideful, very prideful.
No. Yes, she is a member of the traditions. She's entitled to appropriate counsel in her defense.
Would you be willing to serve as counsel, effective counsel to the best of your ability?
Yes.
And you would swear this on your avatar and upon your true name.
Hang on. What explicitly are you asking me right now?
Well, you're asking me to go and talk to her.
Yeah.
Why should she turn herself into the tradition?
Okay. Right.
I think I see what he's getting at. He wants you to swear that you will offer to defend her and do what you are saying you will do for him with his hermetic trial to make sure she has the fairest trial possible.
Oh, no. I don't want him to prosecute her.
No. I mean, it's same way, as in, like, as he said with you that he would do his best to ensure it is a fair trial, he would do the same for her.
No, I'm not asking him to do that it's a fair trial. I'm asking him to be the best advocate he can for her to ensure that justice is done.
Within the limits of tradition law.
Fine.
Well, I think I need to have a talk with her first. But yeah.
Why should she talk with you?
I think he's saying that he would want to talk with her as most lawyers would before they decide to take a client or not.
Okay, but why should she talk with him? Why should she trust him?
That would be something between them to decide.
If she
turns
why
herself
should she
in,
even approach him to talk to him?
If she doesn't trust me, she's welcome to make a phone
call.
No,
because if you give an oath, and I say you give an oath, that's at least something.
Well, I'm not about to give anything right now without at least having a discussion with her, as is proper.
Perhaps. Would you be willing to swear that you will have an open-minded discussion with her to discuss and that what she says to you will be confidential?
That sounds reasonable to me.
I'm happy to have a confidential discussion with her, yes.
And you have already stated that you are willing to be her defense if she is willing to take you as her defense.
I would want to have a discussion with her about the case first, but in principle, yes, I would be happy to do that. And I believe I would affirm her right to have a defense. Counsel.
So if I knock you unconscious at some point when you're not expecting and bring you to see her with me.
Or she could just phone me.
Oh yes, phones are very reliable. And secure.
No,
I think I think
unconscious would not be appropriate behaviour.
I think there might be a
I can have someone else knock you unconscious. Wouldn't hurt.
Look. Well, I appreciate that. Perhaps I think there's a slight miscommunication. So, just to backtrack and cover this, what we're suggesting is you would go talk to her and convince her that for her own best interests as well as those around her, she would turn herself in before trouble can come to her door and risk taking other people out as well as her without any semblance of a trial. She would at that point be in custody, and at some point a trial would be arranged. For the benefit of that trial,
it would be more. I think it would be better for everyone if she came to the traditions willingly, turned herself in because she knows it's her best chance. And it's not just because I say so, it's because there's someone who is willing to defend her. He can talk to her there.
And if she decides that she does not want him or that she does not trust him or anything else, she's welcome to have whoever else she can have defend her. The traditions, I suppose, are probably a bit less orthodox about how defense lawyers are chosen. So she could choose you to defend her in court, though I don't know if that would be...
I really don't think that would be best for anyone.
Probably not, but you get what I'm saying. She would have options at that point. She is not beholden to take him, but he is willing to work with her if she decides that he is appropriate for her.
That's what I'm saying.
But she would have to turn herself in at that point. Before that discussion is what I'm saying.
No, I want them to have the confidential discussion before she turns herself in. If he's not willing to swear an oath that he's willing to defend her.
That's the part that was the miscommunication. I think this is the outline of events I believe we're talking about here. You go to talk to her and convince her to turn herself in. She turns herself in to the traditions, not to us or to the Canticlers, but to the traditions.
No, that is the miscommunication. I will go and speak to her. I will say I think she should turn herself in for her own good.
Yes.
I will say I've even found you a potential lawyer, but he wants to speak to you. I will bring him to you, and he won't know where you are. You can have a confidential discussion and see if he's willing to take on the case. And then at least she can feel confident that there are some people who are on her side.
The only issue I could see with that is that could violate his hermetic oath.
How?
If I'm not mistaken, she is not a declared enemy or anything like that, but I've heard the oath is rather interpretable in some cases. Perhaps what I was thinking was that he could swear an oath that if she turns herself in, if you are successful in convincing her, he will have that frank and open discussion that apparently all sides would want. He will discuss this with her.
Okay, I can do that, but I think that's a.
He would swear an oath to do his best to defend her if after that discussion she is willing to have him defend her. That he will be fair
and if he's willing to defend
her.
Yeah. If he is willing to, if he is willing to defend her after that conversation,
and if she is willing to have him as her defender,
right? That's two things.
But he is willing.
And we're rather assuming that she lives long enough to get to a trial, and the powers that be give her a full trial, which
I would hope they would. But I think we've established.
She could fall to a Templar blade any day. It is possible.
I think we've already covered that this is her best shot. This is not. We cannot guarantee that anything will happen once she turns herself in. We are saying that is the best chance she has. The chance of her living as well as those around her is higher if she does.
You may have a different opinion or story than you do.
Right. Right, Roy.
Obviously, or she would have already turned herself in.
Roy, I've already made clear what I intend to do in your case. My reputation speaks, a profession speaks for itself.
I don't know. I've never heard of you before.
You might recall Prime Inquisitor stated they asked me to take part because of my sense of justice.
The who?
the sheer fact I would be prepared to defy them to if your case is improper, I hope that would speak for itself.
Maybe. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, fine. I'll go talk to her. You know, like, all her friends are dying.
Who has died?
Well,
Win rate that I know of.
Win rate.
Win rate I was present for, sadly.
I think Eric was told one of the Erics is dead.
Eric, the doctor, is still in good health. Though he almost died the other night, he's in good health now.
Oh, that's good. I thought, and I don't know. There's a lot of people died. I'm the last of the hermetics who weren't masters.
Well, except for the two of us, but
you weren't here. Like, both of you have come last month.
That's fair.
I was in Dublin.
There are other hermetics, but they're in the Chantry. So
I never saw you in the Chantry. You never came once.
OC, his character may have existed, but not been a sheeted created character, so they were effectively a faceless backdrop NPC, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, or I may have been busy with my other everyday life. Some of us like to maintain jobs in the real world. It keeps us grounded.
Why didn't you show up to the Chantry once in the last 2 years?
Sam, he may have done so.
Okay. Well, anyways,
I was just saying.
I don't. Whatever. Yeah, it was. I'm happy to go talk to her.
And just to would it help if he swore the oath that he would be willing to represent her?
I'm not able to swear the oath at this point, and I'm certainly wary about swearing oath to tricksy fair folk.
Blink, blink.
I saw the word. Oaths are important. The world has a way of enforcing them.
I'm certainly in principle happy to. I need to have we need to establish she's been charged with something, and then I need to sit down.
All right, can we guarantee? Maybe we should, before I go to her, we should go speak to other representatives of traditions in the city and see that I can at least offer her that we can guarantee safety in the short term.
Can you name anyone who is not already possibly implicated in this?
Siren.
He's in no shape to do anything right now. He was already the proclamation that came out not too long ago had Sketch in charge, and he's since left the city, I'm told.
Sketch is also under charges for
war crimes. Yes.
Against me, I thought Sketch is also gone.
He is gone from the city, as I understand.
Sketch fled after it was made clear he'd be charged with endangering several tradition mages by murdering a prisoner.
Who did he murder?
A progenitor that we found on the Leviathan.
She was, in my opinion, likely to defect. She was under our sworn protection.
Why did he kill her?
He got angry.
He lost his temper after the technocrats bluffed and pretended to threaten Yuki, even though they'd already removed her. So he killed a prisoner in response.
Is Sketch the father of the child?
I do not believe so, but frankly, I doubt anyone's done a DNA test.
What do you actually know about the details?
I was present for when she came back, and I was on the Leviathan mission with her. I saw her when she entered the pod and when she returned to the bar. Sorry, go ahead.
Who's the father?
We don't know.
She was taken by the technocracy, and a day or two later came back 2 months pregnant.
She has no memory between the time that she entered the pod and the time she woke up at a bus stop in Dublin. And by that point, she was already pregnant. She was not pregnant when she left.
Nathan, you're not an out of character narrator, like out of character. You're not a narrator, are you?
No, not in any way.
Okay. Well, we have magic. Why don't we find out?
Well, you could go and speak to Yuki and do that.
I'm fairly. I would, at a guess, though, say that since it is possible, I suppose. I do not know if we would have. They were inspecting her. He uses air quotes life pattern closely before she entered the pod, so they might have noticed if she was pregnant at that point. And since I'm fairly certain Sketch did not encounter her between the time she entered the pod and the time she returned to the bar,
yes,
he's probably not the father.
She was infected by something which has since been cleared, but she was excessively scanned for that reason. So I would be surprised. And no one mentioned the pregnancy at that time. So it happened while she was in union custody.
Okay, well, listen, I'm happy to go speak to her. I don't believe in forcing anyone to do anything.
I didn't say that you should knock her out and bring her in. Though, personally, I think that would probably help her best. But I don't... Again, I'm not suggesting that. In the end, look, you want her to survive. I'd like her to survive. But if she still stays where she is, she's probably not going to. And other people might get caught up in it also. So if you can convince her to turn herself in, that is her best chance and that of those around her. Let those who have been dealing with this sort of thing for a long time, not just our people, but other people who have more broad and varied opinions, deal with this. I'm not saying turn it over to people who have been, dealing with this Chantry and such for the last 1,000 years.
Okay. But again, it'd be...
It's her best shot.
I think we all agree it is her best way forward at this point.
Who's the representative of Verbena at this point?
Let me look. Oh, see.
And how old is that post?
The post isn't that old. It was from when Sketch was here. Sketch was still here at the time. I know that. But let me double check real fast. I'm looking up right now. Give me a moment. No, it's not the Benny Crossover post. General discussion. Mage tradition heads. Okay. At the time, Galach ni Torista, which may have been Ian's Verbena, because he was the only Verbena PC at the time, and Evan prefers to put PCs in charge.
Except for the Hermetics.
Yes, specifically except for the Hermetics because of how they operate. But yes.
He actually doesn't understand how they operate.
Well, yeah. Oh. Anyways, point is, he'll just kind of think back. I think it was Galach ni Torista. I've never met them. I don't know. They're not some of the new people I've seen in town. But why do you ask?
Well, I'm just trying to think. Who represents the virtual adepts?
At the time, it was Winrate. Now it is Jinx. I was present for that Passover.
Meaning when Winrate died, or did Winrate passed over to Jinx?
When Glasspaw essentially had a conversation where he passed it over to her because of Winrate's disappearance.
Yeah.
I don't know how he got the authority to do that, or if it was just a general consensus. I don't know how they operate, but Jinx is acting as their head, I believe.
Okay. Let's see who else.
I don't believe the Ecstatics have a leader currently.
I think that's the way you go with this, that she could hand herself into the head of one of the traditions that she trusts, so that she's in their custody.
She could.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to suggest.
Perhaps, though it would be a conflict of interest, perhaps the Archbishop is gone now, and the new Archbishop would kill her, and they're not part of the traditions anyways at the moment.
They don't really offer sanctuary.
What about Samira and Dr. Eliza?
Huh?
Samira and Dr. Eliza, they are the heads of the Euthanatoi and the Society of Ether.
Dr. Eliza is actually in the House Dene.
But she is also an Etherite, I was told.
Yes, she is.
And this is not to do with that case. This is to do with what's going on with her specifically.
I mean, the head of her own tradition would seem to be perfectly reasonable.
And to have another one vouch for her, hopefully that would be enough to actually get her a foot in the door. And that those two are friends of hers should help better.
Yeah. Okay. No sweet to do thing, especially if we can get Jinx as well. Let's see who else. Order for me is no. What else?
I have not met most of the others. I know the Ecstatics don't have one. The Choristers can't be counted on for this. You're not counting the Order. We've already mentioned the Etherites and the Euthanatoi. The Dream Speakers, their leader is named Balak. I've never met him.
Balak's very powerful, actually. He's hard to find.
Then he might not work for this. You've already mentioned the Virtual Adepts. The Verbena we're not familiar with. And the Akashics are led by Lord Saisho, and he is a somewhat intimidating individual. I don't know if that would be the best course of action. He seems the sort of person to strike first and ask questions later.
I think he's smarter than people.
I can see that an Infernalist claiming to turn themselves in to their dearly friends might be ill received in some quarters.
Sorry, my wife had just come in. Say that again.
Someone charged with infernalism turning themselves in to their friends who are claiming membership of a house that's been renounced for infernalism might be ill received in some quarters.
Is Samira part of House Diedny? I did not think she was.
No, she's not.
Good.
That's
fine.
why I want someone other than Eliza.
Then and it's her own tradition as well. So, and the Euthanatos have a good reputation at dealing with these kind of things.
So that would probably be her best bet then, to turn herself in through Samira and have Samira attempt to get a hold of the.
I want
larger
Samira
heads
and
of the
someone
tradition.
else. I have an idea, though. You've given me enough of an idea.
Who are you considering?
Okay.
You said Jinx, so that would
I'll
be.
speak to Jinx.
That would be two then. All right. Well, good luck then. I need to return back to my forge and speak with my apprentice.
You have an apprentice?
Oh,
of sorts. It's
perhaps a ward would be more accurate.
yes.
Oh, recently awakened?
Yes. Not permanently under the order's auspices unless she decides to be. But,
no, if you're in the order and she is your ward, then she's in the order.
Not according to D'Onofrier. According to D'Onofrier, it is a temporary situation unless she decides to make it permanent. She has sworn no oaths. She is not learning our most secret ways. She is simply being taught she's being taught the ancient art of not blowing herself up, I think was how she put it. Something D'Onofrier has experience with. So
yeah, Flambeau is yeah.
But yes, I should be going then. So I will hopefully hear good news soon. And if not, then I will know you did your best.
Well, I always do my best. People don't necessarily like what I do, but they know I always do my best.
Good luck.
Thanks. Okay, I mean, and do we have a plan if this doesn't work?
If it doesn't work, there's probably going to be a bloodbath at some point, like I said. The best plan would be what we're talking about. After that, it's simply dancing and hoping we don't die. So for her sake as well as others, I hope she's convinced to go.
Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry I'm a bit depressed about the whole situation, but...
If I might make a personal comment, this is not a judgment on you or anything. I have no room to do that.
Judge whoever you like.
The incident with House Diedney was explained to me before I ever met a Hermetic.
It's pronounced a name.
Yeah, thank you.
Strictly speaking, the house names are proper names of the founders, their personal names. Nobody knows how they said their own name. There are 2 correct pronunciations for House Tremere, for example.
My house knows how the name was pronounced.
Not to derail the topic, sorry, but essentially, I can tell you've got some unresolved issues with the Order, and I don't blame you for those. But try to remember that there are individuals in it who are good, like D'Onofrier. And whether you believe it or not, I am not evil, and I don't believe Rupert here is evil.
I don't think most people are evil. I think very few people are evil. I think they're scared or angry or envious. And most of all, I think they're afraid. And they rationalize their way into maintaining a status quo. They follow orders. They say, well, all I can do is the best I can do in my position. I don't want to rock the boat too much. What good is that to anyone?
I'm fairly certain just having this conversation qualifies as rocking the boat.
It wouldn't be a big penalty.
Maybe. I'm not confident.
They have other problems right now. They have 2 apocalypses.
Plus the...
Fortunately, both scheduled for the same day.
Yes, it does make clearing up your schedule much easier.
It does, doesn't it? It's very considerate of those trying to end the world.
Yes. Well, he's going to gather up his books and start heading for the door.
People will be following with him. Perhaps having a full word on the way out.
Okay. Is he going to try and talk to him before they leave or something?
Well, we can have a quick 5 minutes later, but yeah.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go find Jinx, and then I will.
Okay, no problem. So as they're walking out, Stephanos looks pretty much like he's not sure if he did a good thing or not, and he's also looking at Rupert kind of just like, yeah, I did kind of just admit to knowing where this fugitive was.
Yeah, but I mean that went as well as it could have. It came around in the end. He agreed with what we were proposing. He agreed to try and talk sense into Yuki.
And hopefully it will take. If not, then yes.
How much do you know about Rory?
I'm sorry, how much do I know about him?
Yes.
I heard the first time I heard the name was when you said it, and then D'Onofrier mentioned him briefly. So with somewhat the same attitude of a school teacher talking about a rebellious student, but one that she cared about.
Her view of him, yes. There are 1 or 2 things about his background that might put some of what he was saying into context for you. It's no secret he's a member of House Memonita.
What are they known for?
Fairies.
Isn't that literally against the... Oh, no, it says don't anger them in interpretations. Yes, yes. I see where that's going.
Yes, they were a major house at the founding, but they've been relegated to a part of House Ex Miscellanea, but some of them want to re-establish themselves as a major house. Now, does that put a little more context on his obsession with stories for you?
It does, but I could understand his logic. Even if I don't agree with all of it, I understand where he's coming from. the importance of the saga and the story is,
Hmm.
I understand that.
And I hope did you also notice when he slipped up and mentioned his mother?
Yes, I did. And as tempted as I am to go research that, I will respect his privacy.
I knew what she was. I didn't know exactly who she was.
It is probably not directly relevant at this time, though.
No, but I just wanted to put it into context. That's why I'm very reluctant to start swearing oaths to fair folk.
That is fair, though I don't believe he is himself Fae.
You saw the rainbows in his aura?
Yes.
Well,
Seem to be very mercurial.
yes. That would be from his mother's side.
Ah, so he is, what, half Fae? Something?
Fae-blooded, at least.
Ah.
It's...
Does that mean if we anger him, we're violating the oath?
No, he's not. He's not legally. He's not a fairy.
Ah,
But
okay.
by blood, he is. By spirit, well, there are all sorts of theological questions about the fate of the Fae-blooded, and do they truly have souls, and do they get to go to heaven, or perhaps they go to Arcadia?
I don't think those questions trouble him much.
They trouble some people.
No, but not him, is what I'm saying.
No. Well, I think he'd be quite happy to go to Arcadia.
In any case, hopefully...
So anyway, I just wanted to... Oh, no, as I said, I think that went as well as it could have. Thank you, and well done. I just want to say, put that into context for you.
I'm confident from everything you've said so far that if she turns herself in, you will do what you can for her. But as you said, we can't... I feel like he was hoping for a guarantee that she would face trial and a fair trial and everything else, and we don't have that kind of influence. I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee that I'm going to survive till the morning.
I'm happy to work towards that end, honestly. But again, it's beyond my power to absolutely, completely assure.
Well, hopefully it will be enough.
And yes, well, we can hope she makes the right decision.
Yes. Well, let's hope it works out.
Yes. Leave it there?
Yep, sounds like a good place to leave it.
Yeah.
Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And this has been another scene in Darkness in Dublin.